Yeah. Did you work somewhere in Tampa?
Call this meeting of the UIL State Executive Committee to order at this time. We do have a quorum present. We're abiding by the Constitution contest rules of the University of Michigan League. We have an agenda before us, and I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes of our previous meeting. So moved. A motion from Ms. Benson and a second from Garza. All in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask members of the committee to identify yourselves.
My name is Joe Solis. I'm the Executive Director of Athletics for the San Antonio Independent School District.
James Holbert, I'm Superintendent of West Orange Cove, CIT.
I'm Johanna Denson. I'm the Athletic Director for Waco Independent School District.
I'm Mike Motherwell. I'm the Superintendent of Schools at Sundown ISD.
I'm Robin Badersh. I'm Superintendent for Temple Independent School District.
I'm Darrell Wade, retired athletic administrator at Houston ISD.
And if staff members would identify themselves, please.
Charles Broderick, Executive Director, UIL.
Jamie Harrison, Deputy Director.
And Hubert Stansky with the Office of Superintendent General.
Director of Athletics.
Ed Stidham, Director of Compliance.
Dorothy Stidham, Assistant Administrative Assistant.
And back in the back, we have a couple of folks back there too.
Brooke Brown, UIL staff. Kate Hector, UIL staff.
Chris Schmidt, UIL staff.
Thank you. I'm going to ask at this time if anyone has potential to be a part of this in any fashion as far as the speaking aspect of the hearings. Doesn't matter which hearing it is, AA through HH. If you are here, please stand and be sworn in. And the appropriate answer is typically, I do.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to begin with hearing AA Edcouch-Elsa High School, Appeal to District 32-4A. executive committee decision regarding the forfeiture of football games. Mr. Stidham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. District 32-4A committee met a couple of times on this issue. Once September the 11th, tabled the allegations of violations of the 8-hour rule in order to give Edcouch some time to prepare documents. Consequently, they met again on September the 25th, and they voted to issue a public reprimand and a 2-year probation to school. They also ordered that forfeiture of the contest for the entire football season for 2012. In your packet is a letter from Mr. Frank Perez, the superintendent of schools at Edcouch, requesting an appeal of that decision. So that's the reason we're here today. Mr. Uribe is here from the district executive committee, and as well as other interested folks here today, represented by a number.
Okay. Mr. Perez, are you here?
Yes.
Have you done a card? Did you fill out a card?
I wasn't given one. Did I have one?
Would you please take a seat up here? Just Mr. Perez. Please move the microphone over towards you and identify yourself.
My name is Frank Perez, Superintendent of Schools for the Edcouch-Elsa School District.
I'm going to begin this process by asking a few questions. I have a particular order in which I'm going to bring folks up. And then there will be a point in time in which you'll be able to have the opportunity to say anything that you need to say. The first thing that I'm interested in is when allegations were brought to you by a parent. I think this committee would like to hear what you did as far as your investigation is concerned into this matter.
Yeah, the parent came into my office. I heard him out. He was alleging violations in the 7-7 game and also on the 8-hour rule. I heard him out and I told him that I'd look into it. Right after that, I did call Coach Solis into my office, and we sat down and we went over all the allegations that were being made. And I asked straightforward to Mr. Solis, that I needed some explanations on this, and then if we could get some information as to whether any of those allegations were correct or not. And then and there he assured me that they were not true, but that he would look farther into it. And he did. I came 1 or 2 days, and we met again. And based on his findings and everything that he told me, he stated that they were not correct at all.
So your statement is that when your coach was accused of something, you turned the investigation over to him?
Well, I told him to get some answers for me.
Did talk to us about the parents or the kids or the coaches that you talked to.
I didn't talk to any other coach or parents. I did talk to I did make a call to the Mercedes sheriff for the DEC, because I wanted to see, in order to conduct an investigation, I have to look at what they're alleging. And I asked them for information as to what documentation they had in that regards. And I also asked them for a notice a notification as to what we're being charged with and what.
But I'm asking about the investigation, internal investigation that was done at your school. You turned that over to Coach, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You did not take that
No,
upon
sir.
yourself. You did not think it was important enough to go about the business of investigating that situation.
Well, I did think it was important, but wanted him to look into it.
Okay. As we continue, any other questions for this gentleman at this particular time? Yes, Ms. Denson.
Did you ever request an outline of his workout schedules?
He came in and he showed me his outline, and we looked at it, and I think what's in question here is the weightlifting. He thought that it was on a voluntary basis, and apparently he's finding out to the contrary, that it is part of the 8-hour rule.
But you did receive copies of his workouts?
He didn't provide me copies, but he showed me, what he had.
He showed you, but you didn't retain those?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever heard of any allegations like this previously, as far as the 8-hour rule with your football team?
No, sir, I've never had. This is the first time I'm hearing this.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pettis, how long have you been a superintendent here?
Superintendent, I've been there for a good, I would say 3 months, 2 to 3 months.
Oh, 2 or 3 months.
Yes, sir.
Did you not think that maybe it would be in the best interest of the investigation to maybe assign an administrator, a principal? Did you involve the principal at all in this investigation?
I did talk to Mr. Rene Ramos, the principal, but he was not involved until the very end. I had him and Mrs. Francis Rocha, the assistant superintendent, call the DEC committee chairman, Mr. Uribe, for documentation that was used to determine this, and a notice of their decision. But we never received anything from Coach Uribe.
Okay, let me just to clarify, the investigation that was done by the coach himself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you didn't talk to any other coaches, any other parents, or any of the kids? You yourself?
No, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Perez, how long, since you've been there 3 months, were you previously employed by the district, or you came from outside?
Yeah, I was previously employed to the district. Yes, sir.
What capacity?
Human resources.
All right, thank you. You may take your seat for that.
Thank you.
I ask Mr. Garza, Jill Garza, to come forward to this table. Please identify yourself.
I'm Eugenio Lanza, and I'm the parent who brought forth these allegations.
Say your name again.
Eugenio Lanza, E-U-G-E-N-I.
Okay. Mr. Garza, you are the individual who brought these allegations against the program at Edcouch-Elsa. As a parent, a former employee, would you describe yourself as a disgruntled former coach? You had worked for Coach Solis.
I worked for him 5 years ago when I wasn't disgruntled as a coach, but as a parent I was.
What evidence do you have that the 8-hour rule was violated?
I don't have any video evidence of that.
So you got your information how?
I videotaped Coach Solis and Coach Garcia.
Would you move that microphone over a little closer and slow down on your answers, please?
I videotaped Coach Solis and Coach Garcia admitting to amount of hours they practice.
You videotaped them admitting that they had exceeded 8 hours.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions? Other questions at this point? Yes, sir.
I'm curious. You said that you worked with Coach for 5 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
Has this ever been a concern in those 5 years that you worked with him?
My
Have you
last
ever
year-
witnessed as an assistant coach?
Yes. all 5 years we practiced successfully. My last year there, the first day of school, we practiced an hour before school, and then we practiced 4 hours and 15 minutes after school. And we addressed the issue that day, because I had concerns we had practiced 5 hours.
I'm sorry, how long ago was that?
That was 2006.
And so you were aware of the 8-hour rule back in 2006?
Yes, sir.
And so in 2006, you were aware that y'all were violating the rule?
That's correct.
Now, I guess where I'm going with this is, why did you choose 2012 to report it?
Because my son plays for the football team. And my son currently is ranked #1 in his class. And I'm more concerned about his education than how many hours he's going to spend on football.
I guess where I'm going with it is, you were an assistant coach and you were aware that you were violating UIL rules, the 8-hour rule back in 2006. Did you take that, did you bring that to the superintendent's attention?
I did have a meeting with Coach Solis and Coach Sandrusi, or Mr. Sandrusi, during that year, and we did bring it up. Several allegations.
And so, but for some reason this year, and I'm not saying whether it happened or didn't, I'm just trying to find out the motives and the context behind the situation. But in 2012, you chose to schedule a meeting with the superintendent and bring it to the superintendent's attention.
I actually went to Coach Solis first.
Violating the rule.
Yeah, I actually went to Coach Solis first because on that Wednesday he had already practiced 10 hours. So I went to him, I couldn't find him. So then I went to Mr. Pettis, the superintendent, and we talked. And there was other issues that I had concerns with. One was the bullying and hazing of my son from the coaches, and I wanted that addressed. And I talked to Frank Pettis about that.
So my question to you, and I'll ask it again, why did you choose to report it this year when you've known about these infractions for 6 years?
I got you. My intentions were not to bring it to the DEC. My intention was for it to stop. I would just want an 8-hour rule compliance. Frank Pettis, when I met with him the second time, he told me that he was done with the matter and he was not going to pursue it anymore. He told me, file a lawsuit, file a grievance, go to UIL. I'm done with the matter. My only other option was to get this changed, was to go to the DEC.
I'm not sure we got an answer from you, a direct answer.
Okay,
still ain't got it.
Why did you wait? You knew about it in 06.
I knew
Why
about
did you
it in
wait
06.
till now?
No, okay, I knew about it. Okay.
Coach, you're all right, okay?
Okay.
We just want to get to the truth, and we want to get to you didn't give an answer.
I got you.
You knew about it then. You waited until now. Why?
Okay, I was an assistant coach back then, and I wasn't sure the procedures. Not until I became a head coach was I aware that there was a chain of command that we have to follow and what we had to do to report violations. I wasn't aware that I had to go to the DEC or go to UIL. I figured telling my coach and then telling the superintendent was enough back then. Not until I became a head coach that I realized, hey, we have to do this in order to prevent this from ever happening again.
So I have a follow-up question. I don't know if you can answer that.
Go ahead.
And so during that time when you met with Mr. Perez, the superintendent, you mentioned a number of other infractions that you were aware of, i.e. 707 and that sort of thing, correct?
That's correct.
Now, how long were you aware of those infractions?
So, happened in the summer.
So those are recent infractions. When
Yes.
you were coaching for the 5 years you spent coaching, you never witnessed 707 infractions?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Did you know that those were infractions
Yes, I
5
did.
years ago?
Well, I didn't really learn until my first year as a head coach that we weren't supposed to. The UIL committee or the UIL sent a bunch of memos, and I received them as an AD head coach, and it listed a bunch of stuff that was happening that was illegal. So, and after then, I was pretty sure.
And so my final question for this is, and I just want you to speak candidly.
Okay.
What is it that you hope to gain or your expected outcome by bringing these concerns?
I got what I wanted.
Hold on, you gotta let him finish his question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's your expected outcome? What is it that you are seeking? What is it that you want? Hope to gain?
I got what I wanted. Then practice 8 hours a week. That was it.
So your goal, your objective, you're telling me, was to ensure that the 8-hour rule was being enforced.
That's correct.
So why was the 707 brought up?
There were certain allegations that were happening. Certain things were happening, and I brought it up to Mr. Pettis just so he can address it, so he can fix it. Right? But I didn't really report it. I reported the 8-hour rule. But in the video, we talked about that stuff, so it was brought up in the meeting.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I have one final question. Were you ever interested in the head job?
Yeah, yes, I was. Yes,
How long ago was that?
I guess, I don't know, 3 years, 2 years.
And what process did you go through to seek that position? Did you apply for the position? Did it ever become vacant? You said you were interested in the head job.
Yeah, I was interested. When he left, I was interested in the job.
Why did you stop coaching there?
I was coaching in Lavia. I was coaching in a different district.
Oh, okay.
And then I just stopped there. I felt like I didn't want to coach anymore. There were certain issues brought up, and I was kind of stubborn, and I stopped coaching. So now I'm just a teacher.
You said when you became a head coach, when did you become a head coach?
2007.
From 2007 until now, were there violations?
I was in the district.
So you don't know if I thought earlier you mentioned.
I'm pretty sure they occurred, but I wasn't in the district.
But you're not positive they occurred from 2007 until now. You're saying in addition to the first year. I thought earlier you said they've been going on for several years.
Yeah, for 10 years, yes.
So when you became a head coach in 2007, you found out about the 8-hour rule.
No, I knew about the hour rule before that.
And I guess the question earlier was, why did you, since you knew then in 2007 as a head coach there were rules, why didn't you bring that up before 2012?
Well, we're in different districts, so I wasn't concerned with 4A. I was in 1A. So I wasn't concerned about Edcouch then.
So what district are you in now?
I'm back in Edcouch. I'm teaching in Edcouch-Elsa.
So you're no longer head coach?
No, I'm not coaching anymore.
You have questions at this time? Yes, Mr. Garza.
Mr. Garza, in the information that you passed out, we read here, you said something about going to Dr. Perez and being frustrated that there was not going to be anything done. How do you know there was going to be anything done?
Well, when I left the first time, he told me to talk to Coach Solis. Right? From there, nothing was done. Basically, nothing was done. They left it to Coach Solis to take care of it. Coach Solis brought me in, and we talked. We talked about all the issues that we had. And I went back and I talked to Coach Perez. Because even the next week, it was a short week on Thursday, they still practiced over 8 hours. So I went to go talk to him again, and he told me that he was done with the matter. And that was it. He was assured by Coach Solis that nothing was violated.
How long did you work at Edcouch-Elsa as a coach under Coach Solis?
4 years.
4? 4. And you said this has been going on when you were coaching?
That's correct.
Did you bring it to his attention?
Yes, I did.
What was his comment?
He told me it was not my concern. It was his concern. He would take care of it. That we wouldn't get reported, we would get caught.
The what?
That he would not get reported, he would not get caught. This was back in 2006, my last year there.
All right, thank you. You may take your seat. We may call you back a little bit later. Oh, we have one more
When
question.
did you return to that district?
As a teacher,
Yes.
this year.
And you get your son, your son's athlete,
My son's an athlete.
he continued to play there, did he come back with you?
He left Lavia.
So he was with you,
He
and
back
came,
to you,
he just,
I brought him back to it.
this school year.
Yeah, he had been in Edcouch since he was an 8th grader. And I took him to me in Lavia in 9th and 10th grade. And then I brought him back when I left Lavia.
Can I ask what position does he play?
He's a defensive end offensive tackle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would I ask the district chair to come forward at this time, Mr. Ruby? Please identify yourself.
Michael Leavitt, District Chair 3240.
Okay. You're a coach, is that right?
That's correct, sir.
From your meeting and from all you learned, the decision was reached, obviously, for this team to forfeit all the football games. Talk to us about, in your opinion, as a member of that committee, what it was that swayed the committee to feel like, number one, there had been a violation, and number two, that it was as severe in nature as the penalty showed to be.
When we initially met, I talked to Mr. Cousins, and he informed me to give him the 10 additional days to investigate, plus the allegations to be written. So the allegations were in written format, which were in the packet sent to you guys. And 10 days later, we called a special meeting with his response. The response was in complete denial of the allegations, with really no support to it. Then we allowed both Coach Solis to speak to the committee in executive session, and we allowed Mr. Jean Garza to speak to the committee in executive session. During those conversations, there was a lot of contradiction between what was said. The other thing that occurred was the video of the conversation between Mr. Jean Garza, the parent, and Joe Solis and his defensive coordinator, Joe Garcia, were there. And several references were made justifying his actions. So there was a complete admittance to, when we bring him in an hour before school, it's voluntary, so it's allowed. When we bring them in after school, prior to getting to the field, and we meet and watch film, it's voluntary, so it's allowed. And then the tone changed later in conversations that I thought he was talking about during the summer. So there was contradictions going back and forth. So when questions were asked, you know, he made a comment in the video, which I don't know if you all reviewed or not, but the video was sent to the conversation. He says, we've been doing this for 10 years. Why is it a problem now? And the committee continued to ask on questions, and we would not receive an answer to any responsibility or accountability for what was being said on the video and in discussions and in response to the allegations. So we then proceeded, after giving them a time to answer questions after the video was explained. Mr. Solis was asked, sir, from, if I'm not mistaken, the principal of Roma High School, you said it was 10 years. What do you mean 10 years? Because I think I've been doing this long enough, I know the rules. And in the conversation, there was tons of things. Well, water break doesn't count. Water break does count. There was, you know. So then, when I went over the athletic code and the athletic code for coaches, prior to us making our decisions, there were several points that the principals of the committee felt were in direct violation of the code for coaches and of athletics. So when we asked for the decision for come up with, was first of all, we had to determine was there a violation. And with no discussion, it was unanimous there was a violation. Okay? So once we determined a violation, we went to the penalties in the Constitution and contest rules. And we went over it, and they said, initially, I mean, from the very beginning, we went step by step, and they felt that the probation, which initially they wanted 3 years, and one individual said, well, maybe just 1 year, so the decision was made for 2-year probation. Okay, then the guidelines of the probation was to be in compliance with the Constitution and contest rules for those 2 years. And then we went to the part where it says forfeiture of games because of an unfair advantage. And was there an unfair advantage gained by the unanimous decision of the excessive practice times, therefore an unfair advantage? And so they said yes. And the statement says something to the effect where forfeiture of games prior to and or after. So the discussion immediately went to the entire season because of not only the severity, but the complete lack of recognition or accountability, or it seemed that there was a blatant disregard for the rules. And therefore the principals were adamant that they felt that there was an institutional problem. And because there's an institutional problem, and since the guidelines allow for the forfeiture of before and or after, they felt, since this has been a blatant disregard for the rules for a long period of time, by his own admittance, that's why the principals chose what they chose.
Very well stated. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Garza.
Coach, I just want to ask about procedures, because I think that's important to me when I was reading all this information. You're an athletic director and head football coach that competes against Edcouch-Elsa, is that correct?
Correct.
You're also the district chair. Was your principal in attendance?
Correct.
Okay. The committee that voted, were they principals or were they coaches?
Out of the 6 that were there involved, because obviously I did not vote as the chair.
Okay, so you're saying out of the 6 that voted?
Out of the 6, 1 was an athletic director, the other 5 were principals. And the athletic director abstained from all the votes except for 1.
Now, I read what you sent. I just want to make sure that I heard correctly. When you heard the videotape, you heard Coach Solis say, "I've been doing this for 10 years."
Why is it a problem now?
Excuse me?
He said, "I've been doing this for 10 years. Why is it a problem now?" The video was provided.
Did you see the video?
Yes, I did. The entire committee saw the video.
Yes, sir. Coach, do you feel prior to this year, have you had any negative dealings where you felt like that there was a disregard for UIL rules coming from his coaching staff?
From his coaching staff? Negative. Well, this summer, we received an anonymous packet dealing with 7-on-7 allegations. Okay? That packet was sent to Mission ISD. The athletic director over there, Joe Sanchez, said, "Look, I just got this packet. It's anonymous. It has all these allegations plus pictures of Coach Solis and his two coordinators, offensive and defensive coordinators, on the sidelines with his student athletes there during summer 7-on-7 activities." So I received the packet. I called Coach Solis immediately. Said, "Look, I received this packet. Explain to me what's going on." He told me that this was between games. He, by no means, shape, or form, was he doing anything that was illegal. And I told him, "Yes, sir, I understand how allegations come up. And to me, pictures are pictures. You can take a picture and a snapshot, and it can mean a lot of different things." And then on top of that, it was anonymous. So I said, "Sir, I respect you, and I understand what you're saying," and it was dropped. It was dropped immediately. When this situation came, and the parent came to my office, I immediately called UIL, and I want to talk to Mr. Cousins, because Mr. Cousins was referenced in multiple occasions in the video, saying that we talked to him. He says it's allowed. We talked to him, and I want to see what conversation they had in reference to the practice schedule, because they kept on referring to Mr. Cousins as giving him the thumbs up on their practice itinerary. Well, I finally got a hold of Mr. Beasley, and Mr. Beasley said, "Coach, if it's brought to your attention, then you do need to bring it to the DEC." I said, "Okay." So the first thing I did was call Mr. Solis, Coach Solis, and said, "Sir, I have a parent that came in with an allegation," and he was already prepared for it. He was already ready. He goes, "Oh, Mr. Garza?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Okay." So then I posted the agenda out of courtesy to him, and so to be honest, sir, I felt that I have bent over backwards in support of Mr. Solis and his program, because we are in the same fraternity of coaches.
I have one more follow-up question. You mentioned earlier, you said a really profound statement that the excessive practicing you felt created an unfair advantage for that team. How much of an advantage do you think that's created for that football team?
Well, the way it was explained when they outlined the practice schedule in the allegations provided by Mr. Garza, they were working an hour of weights on Mondays and Wednesdays prior to school starting. They're working an hour of special teams Tuesday and Thursday prior to school starting. They're having an hour of film work Monday through Thursday prior to stepping onto the practice field. So that's 8 hours of development, mental and physical, prior to even getting on the practice field. Me as a head coach, with the requirements that we have, I average about 40 minutes a week in the weight room, about 45 minutes to an hour a week in the film room, and then, of course, 8 hours or less on the field. So when you have literally 2 hours of weight in relationship to 40 minutes of weights, 4 hours of film in relationship to less than an hour of film, that creates a huge advantage to the opponents. And as I explained to the committee, when there's an unfair advantage, that puts the other schools in the district at an unfair disadvantage.
Very good.
Mr. Garza? Coach, this committee relies a lot on the district chairs for information that occurred at the meeting, because we're not there. Okay, so I would like you to tell this committee, in your own words, why you think the DEC voted 5-1 on the penalties that were assessed. In your own words, if you were there,
okay, why do you
think the principals voted 5-1 to assess these penalties on Edcouch-Elsa?
Because again, they felt this was an institutional problem, that there was no accountability for guidelines, that the principals felt. Typically, in my experience, this is my 4th year as an athletic director, so obviously I've been going to 4 years worth of DEC meetings. Anytime we have an issue, whether it's an eligibility issue, situation at a game, 100% of the time we've had a self-report to the committee. In this case, with documentation and discussions and questions, there was no accountability whatsoever by the program.
Was there any conversation at all concerning the coach, penalties for the coach from the DEC? I know you can't assess penalties, but was there any discussion that
Yes,
coaching?
yes, and we did make that decision in executive sessions, and it is in the transcription of the packet I sent to UIL. And in essence, all the things that we could do with the personnel was voted unanimously.
Yes, Mr.
Sorry, just trying to think of things I don't. We received some information. I received some information from Mr. Stinham yesterday on a statement that Coach Solis made. And in the paperwork that I received yesterday, I downloaded it, and there was a very detailed practice schedule that occurred during that week that I think they played Westlaco.
Yes, sir.
Was that information, were you privy to that information at that meeting?
Practice schedule? No.
Yeah.
The rebuttal after the 10-day period to have a rebuttal was a half a page that was provided to you guys.
So you're telling us that on September 25th, he knew that there was going to be a hearing, he had 10 days to, and there was no practice schedule submitted to you?
No, sir.
It was pretty detailed what we received, I received yesterday.
No, sir.
Thank you. You've done a good job. We appreciate that when they call you back a little bit later. I want to ask Dr. Cousins a question while Coach Solis and his representative come forward. Dr. Cousins, talk to us about, there were a lot of discussion, and by the way, thanks to all who provided the written documentation, because it has really enabled us to have a good background on the situation here. But let's talk about the 8-hour rule and what does and what does not count.
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd like to point out is any discussion I had with Coach Solis was after the fact. The activities in question had already occurred before any phone calls that I'm aware of were received by our office in reference to anything related to the number of hours that we're practicing. It was all done after the allegations were brought forth, not before. In reference to the 8-hour rule, when it is, I mean, the 8-hour rule is ultimately state law. It's not UIL rule. It was put in place when they did the no patch, no play limitations back in the early 80s, and it is specific to practice time outside the school day during the school week. So in a lot of ways, we are limited into what information UIL can provide because, again, it is state law, it's not our rule. There are provisions in the side-by-side manual that talk about what counts on the 8-hour rule. In specific, does dressing out time and redressing time count as part of the 8 hours? And the answer is yes, unless the students were already dressed out because the athletic period preceded the portion of the day used as part of the 8 hours. Do water breaks and film review count as part of the 8 hours? The answer in the side-by-side manual is yes, they do count. I think some question in this regard has to do with the term voluntary and what is considered voluntary and what is considered not. There are many schools that have open facilities, open weight rooms, open gyms. We have provisions in the Constitution that spell out specifically how that is supposed to work. So if they are going to open facilities for voluntary usage, there are specific guidelines in the Constitution that spell out how that's supposed to happen, what is okay and what is not okay. But one of the provisions in there, it says that if members of an athletic team are the only people utilizing that facility, then it certainly could be construed as a violation of off-season regulations, or certainly could be looked at as practice time for whatever limitations that you have. Now, in reference to a couple of statements made in there by Coach Solis in reference to discussions specifically with me and answers that I gave, number one, in general, when I give answers over the phone, it's always followed up with a request to give me specifics in writing so I'll be able to respond in writing. Ultimately, we received some information but not specific questions that would have allowed us to provide a written interpretation on those specific issues in regard to the 8-hour rule, and in specific to the reference as to when the 8 hours counts. My response to Coach Solis was a general response that the practice schedule for any team is set by the head football coach, the head coach of that particular team. So that coach decides when practice begins and when practice ends, but all the other things associated with it that may or may not be construed as practice. I mean, just because you say we're going on the field at 4:30, that doesn't mean that nothing else that happened prior to 4:30 is not going to count. And it is the head coach that determines when practice begins, but that does not automatically mean that's also when the 8 hours starts clicking as well. And that's one of the reasons why I requested additional information in writing from Coach Solis, which I was never able to get in time to provide written information back before this came to the district executive committee.
Thank you, sir. Please identify yourselves.
Joe Solis, athletic director, head football coach at Edcouch-Elsa.
Daniel Ortiz, I'm a lawyer. I represent Joe Solis.
All right, thank you. Coach Solis.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about the issue of your practice times and the fact that you knew on the meeting that was September 25th that this issue was going to come up, but you did not provide any information on your practice schedules until after that. Talk to us about your practices.
Basically, in the morning, our school district covers a 31-mile radius. There's kids that are dropped off at as early as 7 o'clock, and there's kids that come in the bus as late as 7:45. So what we did, or what we've done, is those kids, because we have about 100-something kids in there. Some of them come dressed, and some of them come and lay down, and we have the lights turned out in the dressing room, and they go to sleep. They will get ready to start our workout. But some of the kids go in the weight room. The weight room's open. And by the way, my coaches report to work at 7:30. The weight room's open, so they ask to go in there. Our video room is right next to our dressing room, and so some of them ask if they can watch video of the Friday night game. At the time, week one, just I want to emphasize about this is week 1, week 0, that this violation is being brought to you all. At the time, we had only had one scrimmage. On Saturdays, our kids come in at 10 o'clock, and we start out with weightlifting. Then we start out with some conditioning, and then they watch video. The week 0, we were playing a non-district game, and our opponent did not want to trade video. So we actually didn't have anything to show. Basically, if they went in there, like I said, they know how to operate the clicker, they know how to operate the cowboy and everything else. They go in there on their own. In the weight room, it's the same thing. Being that we get some kids that come in the bus at 7:45, we actually, the practice is actually starting at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Yes.
You mentioned, Coach, that the weight room is open. Is it open to the entire school? Is it open just for football, or is it open for athletic? What's the procedure with your weight room?
It's open to whoever wants to go in there. We have a soccer team too, and sometimes in the morning, 1 or 2 of them, there's not many, soccer doesn't do a lot of weight training, that they'll go in there also.
Yes.
Coach, this committee really has 2 issues that we're going to be looking at.
Okay.
The first would be whether the infractions actually happened.
Yes, sir.
And the second would be the scope of the consequences.
Yes, sir.
I find it very difficult for you to sit here and make it sound as if that all of this is completely student-led. I mean, you've met with a district-level committee. You've had a parent record you. I mean, it is obvious. I'm a former coach, former athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are not going to sit and come up to the school an hour early and lead themselves in breaking down video and working out without there being an expectation that they do so. And so I'm having a difficult time the way you're presenting this, is if kids just happen to come up, they fall asleep, they decide to go and check out, break down some video, or they decide to work out. Yeah, I think we need to have some ownership, whether there were some infractions that happened in the scope of them. And that's what I'm looking to here. I mean, I don't want us to waste time in determining whether the infractions actually happened. I think it's been quite clear, at least through the material I've read, that it's been incredibly thorough, that there are multiple infractions as far as the 8-hour rule is concerned. So the question is I guess we have a difference between voluntary and expected. Did you have adults in a room with kids watching videos? Yes or no? Was there ever an adult watching video with the students?
No.
Never?
No. Not going over the video and
no, I didn't say going over the video. I said, was there an adult present in the room while students were watching video? Yes or no?
Yes, but he wasn't.
There had been. Now, my next question. Has there ever been an adult in the weight room while students were lifting weights? Yes or no?
Yes, because some of my, one or two of my coaches lift weights on their own.
Yeah, because otherwise it'd be a safety hazard if there was no adults in the weight room while kids were lifting and they're unsupervised.
Yes.
So there's been multiple times, and then you stated to not only to the parent but to the district executive committee that this has been going on for years, 10 years. Why is it a problem now?
Sir, on the 10 years when he came to me being the first week, and if you looked at the video, on the first week when he came in there and told me I had already worked 10 hours, I thought he was talking about the week before that we didn't have school. Because the reason being, because I told him water breaks don't count. And we just come from coaching clinic, and they had said the water breaks don't count.
So, Coach, knowing what you know now,
yes,
let's just assume that you've become aware of what all these rules are now. Do you feel like that there were rules that were violated? 8-hour rule. Do you feel like there was an actual violation on your team's part of that? Yes or no?
There was. If there was, it wasn't intentional.
You're saying so there was unintentional. Now, you admitted how long have you been coaching?
Total, or there they taught us 39 years.
And so you're well aware of UIL rules. How long have you been aware of the 8-hour rule?
Ever since I became a head coach.
But yet you've never chosen to call UIL and talk to Dr. Cousins about violations of what you can and can't do until after you've been accused of it.
It's my understanding that the head coach designates practice time, when it starts, when it ends.
That's all I have.
George, I believe you have a question.
Coach, Dr. Cousins made it very clear, and I know you understand this, but I want this on the record. You say practice starts from 4:30 to 6:30, but if you actually start practice, if you actually start activities at 8 o'clock, then that counts. Do you understand that, don't you?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. No matter what is written, okay? And then if you stay after practice, like to shack punts and do some specialty type things, and there's coaches out there, that also counts as practice time. Even though on your schedule it says 6:30 sprints, and that's the end of it. Do you understand that part?
Yes, sir, I understand.
If you say that the coach designates what time practice starts and when it's over, yeah, the coach can designate anything in writing, but the actions before and after also count as well. Now, I want to ask you a question here, because this has been, just when I read all this material, my understanding is there was a meeting September 11th that the DEC called and presented some allegations to you and gave you 10 days to respond on these allegations. I know you went back, you met with your superintendent and others, administrators and coaches, in preparing for this. And I heard Mr. Oliva come up and say that he presented half a page of a response back to the DEC on these allegations. You didn't turn in any practice schedule like that you turned into us, very detailed, by the way. Why did you think about taking all of that information to the district executive committee? Because you knew they were going to have a hearing on this. They gave you 10 days to get ready for it, and you didn't take anything but a half a response.
That was the statement that I took to the committee. That's what my lawyer told me to take.
That's what?
My lawyer told me to take that, to give to the committee, and then answer questions from there on, or whatever documentations they would ask for.
You wouldn't think to take a practice schedule to show them what your practice is like?
I explained what we were doing.
Other questions? Yes, Ms. Nilsson.
Coach, considering the amount of time that your team actually practiced, that you know that is a violation, do you feel like you gained an unfair advantage over your competitive?
No, ma'am.
You do not?
No, ma'am.
And why do you feel that way?
Well, because we're doing everything everybody else is doing. You know, one of the things I want to point out is it was brought up by Mr. Uribe that we start an hour before, an hour before we start practice, that we start doing things. And we start, designated practices at 4:30. Our kids get out of class at 3:45. So there's no way that's justifiable to say that it's an hour before we start practice. That we do that because our kids do not get out of class till 3:45. We house about 5 buildings where kids go when they get out of that class, somewhere as far as a half a mile from the stadium, and those kids will go to their lockers, and there's no way that can take place.
All right. We're at a point now, I think, and someone may want to disagree with me on this, but I think we need to hear from you very specifically. And you've been asked this, but in closing, in a sense, why you can stand here and tell us that there have been no violations. Because the District Executive Committee have heard this information. We've now heard it and read it, and it appears as though there have been violations. So tell us why your stance is that there have been none.
Because, sir, I believe in myself, what I've done. I enjoy what I'm doing. And if anything was done in the eyes of somebody else that there were violations, it was done unintentionally.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I ask Mr. Solis that question?
Would you please sit down?
Yes.
All right. Now, what is it you would like to ask us?
Do you mind if I ask Coach Solis some questions, please?
That's not the issue. If you've got some things, or he's got some things to say, let's get them said. We're here to ask the questions today. Okay. If you've got something you need him to say, you better whisper it in his ear.
Going back to August 27th, like again, if there were any violations, they were not intentional. So I have not violated any rules before that. And like I said, it was the first week of school. It was registration. I only have 8 coaches, and between us, we have to coach varsity and junior varsity. And junior varsity kids, it's happened every year. We had like 10 of them on Monday that came in. They had just registered and they put them in football. And we were passing out equipment and to them so that they could go out there with us. And there's different coaches that pass out different equipment. On the practice schedule, on the violation that he stated, I have a kicking coach. That's his job. Throughout, we don't stay after practice. And
Mr. Garza, you have a question?
And I do want to say on my behalf that after hearing the allegations, in the mornings we lock the weight room, nobody goes in there, and also the video room, nobody goes in there.
Talking about since the allegations?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you lock the coaches out also who work out in there? The coaches don't work out in the weight room anymore?
They can go in there, but they have to lock up and lock back when they come out.
Mr. Garza, you have a question?
Coach, you heard testimony from Mr. Garza that did he work for you for 4 years?
Yes, he did.
Okay, he's alleging here that this kind of stuff had been going on in those 4 years. Sometime between, I guess, 04, 03, and 06. 02 and 06. I think he left maybe 3 and 6. I don't know when he left. Did he make you aware? Did you all ever have a conversation where he told you, hey, we're practicing too long? We're breaking the 8-hour rule. Did he ever discuss that with you?
No, he didn't.
All right. Anything else y'all need to say? It's time to close our discussion. Mr. Wade has a question.
Coach, what is your current football record?
I haven't counted this year, but it's like 121.
No, this
right now, 6-2, sir.
6-2?
Yes, sir.
Anything else you want to say?
Yes, I just wanted to leave the committee with this in mind that prior to August 27th, I didn't violate any rules, and until the allegations came up, and if there was anything that was done accusing me of anything, it was not done intentionally.
Thank you. You may take your seats.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We had a couple other folks who had indicated they needed to speak. Anyone else, after what you've heard, still need to speak? Anybody? Yes, sir. Come forward. Did you sign the card?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, thank you. We'll ask you to be brief, please. Please state your name.
My name is Dr. Daniel Trevino Jr., Superintendent of Schools of Mercedes. I did sign an orange card.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank the committee for listening to all of us. I know this is very challenging for both school districts. If I may, we are all professionals. We are all responsible for our actions. As we continue with the allegations, that after whatever decision is made, that our students, both Edcouch-Elsa, Mercedes ISD, or any student athlete, are the ones that are going to hurt because of the decisions made by adults. We are all responsible. Primarily, we are educators. Extracurricular comes into play in the components of our business. I strongly believe that investigation was lacked from Edcouch-Elsa administration. I also believe that this practice of a non-schedule had been going on for several years, as was presented to our executive committee. And as we continue that Mercedes ISD is merely the chair of the 3248 deck. We respectfully, from the committee, submitted the allegations, and we hope that this committee will take these allegations into heavy consideration and hand down the sanctions needed and opinionated by the committee towards Edcouch-Elsa. And know, if you may, know we are not doing everything that Edcouch-Elsa does. We are our own district. Ignorance of the UIL rules is not an excuse.
Let me interrupt you. We recognize your plea and we appreciate it. We've not made any accusations against you folks, so it's time for us to move forward. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all, committee.
All right. There may be some members that want us to continue with some things, but let me make a couple of statements and then we will talk this thing out and make a decision here as need be. We have some violations here. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think we've got violations in our rule that have occurred. We have a district executive committee that met and dealt with those. We very much appreciate that committee for their concern and taking it seriously. Also think that we need to take a look at the options that are at our disposal as far as constables are concerned. Because we need to recognize the significance of the penalties that we're handing down to kids. When in reality, I think we need to focus our attention on the gentleman who broke the rules, broke the laws. No doubt in my mind that some advantage was gained by this school, by this athletic program, and that some forfeitures were appropriate. I question whether it needed to be throughout the entire course of the year or not. I will say that without any doubt in my mind that Coach Solis, although he states that he has not intentionally done anything, I have a hard time with that, Coach. Having coached as long as you have, you know the rules. And I think he's the one that needs to receive the brunt of these violations of what he's done. So for me, as I move forward, also I would be remiss without saying to the superintendent, recognizing that this is your first superintendency, I suppose. Mr. Perez, or Dr. Perez, excuse me. Mr. I think you did a woefully poor job of investigating this thing. And you have more responsibility to your kids, to your community, than what you've shown. When an allegation such as this comes to you, it is your responsibility to get out and dig and find out the truth of the issue and not leave it in the hands of the one who's been accused. And I trust that that is a lesson learned today. But for me, it's I seriously believe that Coach Solis needs to be suspended for some period of time, whether it be a game or two, or the rest of the season, whatever it may be. I also believe that at least a portion, district and beyond, of the games that these young men have played do not need to be forfeited. That's just my opinion on this particular issue. Mr. Copeland.
Mr. Chair, I concur 100%. You know, reading through the litany of paperwork that we've received on this, which was very thorough, it certainly became clear to me that we have an issue of whether there were actual infractions that happened, and if so, were the scope of the disciplinary actions appropriate for the infractions. After having the opportunity to listen to people speak and present themselves, I recognize that we have some gross professional negligence on the head coach's standpoint. I'm disappointed that a person wouldn't come up to us, Coach Solis, and basically acknowledge the infractions that we committed and go into a method of damage control, but instead we want to evade and try to dodge responsibility. At the same time, you know, the kids are being penalized for the infractions of an adult, and I have a major issue with that. And so the entire athletic program has been compromised because of these infractions. But we still have to deal with the issues that there was an advantage that was given to a team. Although it be, I don't know if it was a season-long advantage, there might have been a temporary advantage by students being able to have extended time to practice. And so perhaps that there should be some sanctions and some games that are forfeited from the football team, but for an entire season, I think that that's a pretty harsh consequence for the infractions of the adults. Now, I think with our head coach, I think that the DEC actually went light or wasn't capable of going as heavy as
they didn't have the opportunity to do anything.
And so I'm certainly bothered by the gross negligence of our professional duties as a head coach and AD. I'm also bothered by a superintendent being misled by an employee that he supervises. And so I've got issues with that because he's put the superintendent in a compromising position. I'm speaking as a superintendent. So I'm not sure exactly what this would look like, Chair, and I probably would take your guidance in helping us with it. But
let me see what Mr. Wade and Vashel have to say, and then we'll come back to you.
Very quickly, I do agree with our chairman on his opinion. I agree with him wholeheartedly. I'd like to see we get the coach to come up and just tell us what the games were won, first, second, third week of the season were.
Sure. Coach, come back up. Answer, talk to us about games won and lost.
You played week 0?
Yes, sir.
Who did you play that week and what was the outcome?
Westaco, and we won.
And week 1?
Yes, week 1 we lost to PSJ North.
Week 3?
Week 3 we beat Laredo Alexander.
When was your other loss?
It was against our first district game against Mission.
How many district games have you played so far?
We played 6.
You played 6 district games today.
5, ma'am, I'm sorry.
5 district games, and of those 5 games, how many of those have you won?
4, and we've lost 1.
How many district games do you have left?
2.
All right, Mr. Gold.
No, I think we're headed down the right road. We just need to solidify it.
Anyone have anything particular about Michelle?
I don't know.
Okay. Then it's time to either grant the appeal and overturn the ruling by the district executive committee or to deny it. And I think I know where we're headed on that, and then we're going to have to take some other action.
I'd like to make a motion, I guess, first to deny the appeal, and I presume from there, depending upon the vote of the executive committee, that we can take other action as required, and that would be a separate vote, correct?
It would be. And we don't need a motion on denying the appeal. We'll vote on that as it stands. All in favor of granting the appeal and overturning the, well, we have to be careful.
You have to be
very careful because we're dealing with the ruling by the district executive committee. So we need to do this all at once. Okay? And look,
and I think, well, because, and this is something I've been trying to grasp since this thing started, is what exactly are all the penalties that have been put forth by the district executive committee.
Okay.
In my reading of the minutes, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, we've got a public reprimand and a 2-year probation to the school. Forfeiture of all games for the 2012 season for violation of the 8-hour rule. A reprimand to the coach with a referral to the state executive committee requesting additional penalties, and then some question or investigation in reference to the alleged 7-on-7 violations, which I think can be handled as a separate issue. And I think that covers everything the district executive committee did. So those are all the penalties that have been imparted by the district executive committee that you would be ruling on in the appeal. So I mean, certainly you could deny the appeal and all these penalties stay, or you could grant the appeal and impart whatever penalties the state executive committee feels are appropriate.
This is a matter of semantics. Ordinarily, we take the appeal as the motion. In this case, seems to be a consensus from the committee that they want to go a different direction.
So let's just do it with a motion.
I think that's the best way to proceed.
Yes, Mr. Uribe.
Do you mind if I step up, sir?
I don't mind at all.
I apologize for interrupting your part there. I also want to emphasize one of the reasons that the DEC selected. Again, we did follow the guidelines on the penalty section. 5 years ago, they were brought up on another violation with an ineligible player. And if I'm not mistaken, I wasn't here at that meeting, but they were reprimanded.
Yes, sir.
Okay. 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, they were brought to the DEC again for using a padded contact pads prior to the allowance of contact pads. It was brought to DC. The justification by Edcouch-Elsa was it was a sub-varsity coach running the drill. He didn't know. So they were okay. Just 2 weeks ago, we received information on an ineligible player, being that I was CC'd on, but the information was actually sent to their superintendent, their assistant superintendent, and their principal, with the attachment of a report card stating that one of their young men, which I confirmed on the game report, was playing with a failing grade. I also went and confirmed to see if it was a advanced placement class or concurrent enrollment class, and it was a regular course. By the TA UIL side by side, it stated that the information needs to be submitted to the district chair with full disclosure of the superintendent. I was in contact with Mr. Stedham about it with no response yet on this violation, and saying that the sentiment of the committee was, because of the communication going on, that this has been going on for 10 years, when we talk about about kids being affected, the committee felt that kids have been affected for almost 10 years.
Understand.
You know.
All right, you've made your point.
Yeah.
And again, you've done a good job in articulating things for us today. Thank you.
Dr. Cousins, when we talk about public reprimand, does that go into the legal?
Yes.
Let me make some suggestions. Mr. Garza?
I want to ask Mr. Solis, have you ever been before the state executive meeting before in your time as a coach?
Yes, I have.
You've been before this committee before?
Yes.
How long ago?
2008.
Thank you. I have some.
Will you let me explain that? Just short words.
Sure.
There was an act, and then again, you know, all these things were being, like you were questioning the parent wanting out. When in 2008, when we proved everything that was asked, I went through UIL, all the documentation, the driver's license, the voter registration, the mailbox, the receipts for water and everything else. The head coach from Mercedes, and Coach Olivia was with him, waited till our last game of the season. And all of a sudden, the next morning, I'm given a call. This is the last game of the season, and we have won the district championship. All of a sudden, at 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, I have a call that the DEC has a special meeting, and the special meeting is about us losing the district championship because we played an ineligible player.
Thank you. All right.
Oh, and I'm sorry.
No, we've heard.
No, but I'm saying on 2008, what happened here is the decision was reversed and the kid was eligible.
Yes, sir. Some recommendations as somebody is considering making a motion. There needs to be a public reprimand, no doubt. There needs to be in my opinion, forfeiture of non-district contests. How many district games do they play? How many district games? Seven. A suspension of Coach Solis for the remainder of this football season as the head football coach there. No longer allowing him to participate during the course of this year, whether it be in regular season or playoffs.
Would that mean, Mr. Chair's clarification, that he would not be allowed to...
No part of it. No part of it. No practices, nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
No scouting?
No scouting, no discussing it with his coaches, nothing. And that would be up to the superintendent, Mr. Perez, to make sure that takes place if this occurs.
And I mean, I'm sorry. Does that include his athletic director? My name is Joe Solis. I'm attorney. I did fill out a card. I just, for our purposes.
You need to sit in.
Sir?
You need to sit in.
Thank you.
All right. Now, you'll raise your hand.
Sir,
May you be recognized. Did you fill out a card?
Yes, sir, I did.
Come forward.
I just respectfully.
Please, name.
My name is Gus Acevedo. I'm an attorney for Edcouch-Elsa. All I'm asking.
All right, what are you asking for?
Is for clarification, because he's head coach, athletic director. Will his suspension affect his athletic director duties, or should we remove him from there too, and we'll take guidance from you guys on that?
Remove him from there also for the remainder of this year.
Yeah, that we want to know. We want to do the right thing. Excuse me.
Should that become an issue, our staff will work with them and educate them on all these. Should that become an issue, I don't think that needs to be worried about right now.
No. Also, there needs to be a 3-year probation. I think that's as long as we can go. 3-year probation. We talked about forfeiture of non-district contests, and we need to the superintendent to require of him a follow-up on the 707 issue and a report back to Mr. Stidham within 1 month of your findings. Now, that's just some suggestions that I made at this particular time.
I agree with everything except for forfeiture. I think because it did present an unfair advantage that some of the district games need to be part of it.
Okay, and we're open to that totally. So I need somebody.
Just a comment on that, and I would agree with you. However, it causes a real problem unless all the district games are forfeited. But it's an unfair advantage to those that have already played. You've got two remaining, so it really causes a confusion to the district that forfeits occurred in some part of the district schedule, not all of it. I understand where the district committee was coming from with that. I agree that probably all of it should be. That's quite extraordinary for us to have all the district games.
If you forfeit the non-district games, you're talking about 3 games, correct? Is that accurate? 3 games based on what we've heard is probably fair. I think that's appropriate in this situation and recognizing your perspective. So do I have a motion?
I make the motion for the 5 items that were recommended. Public reprimand, 3-year probation, forfeiture of non-district games, suspension by Coach Solis for the remainder of the season, whether it was gross negligence or blatant disregard as a matter, and then 5, report from the superintendent to Mr. Stitt on the 7-on-7 within a month.
And also include the postseason. Suspension.
Yeah, for the remainder of the school year.
The school year, not the season.
We got a list. Let's talk about that.
Because he's an athletic director.
Yeah, which is what the clarification was a while ago.
Ordinarily, Mr. Chair, we don't penalize administrators.
Okay.
Our role would be to penalize the school district and or our coach.
Can we amend that to say suspension as head football coach and athletic director during the duration of the football season, but his athletic director's duties could continue after the football season is over?
So amended.
Okay. I second. We have a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. It is unanimous. Move forward. Thank you. We need to take a 5-minute break.
Everyone